You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.
This is No Filter, and I'm Mia Freedman. By the time Kate Mulholland turned 40, she'd been married for 23 years, and she and her husband had 5 kids. It was around this time when she finally admitted to herself, I want to leave my husband. But it would be another 9 years before she actually did it.
Honestly, it wasn't anything to do with him, even though it was everything to do with him, if that makes any sense. I just thought, I don't think I love you, but I don't want to think like that.
Kate's friend Nellie Thomas was around the same age, in her 40s, when she sat her 2 children down and told them that she was leaving their father. Her marriage was over too.
I think the hardest thing for me was that I had really promised them that it would never happen.
Why'd you do that?
Because I believe that.
Apart from being close friends, the thing that these 2 women have in common is a total lack of guilt about calling time on their marriages and walking away with their kids to start new lives. They are, quite simply, exhilarated. Post-pandemic divorces are so hot right now, they're really having a moment. And I don't mean to make light of an experience that in many cases, most cases actually, is difficult and painful and not where any bride or groom was planning to end up when they said their vows. And if there are kids involved, of course, there are so many complexities of custody and the real grief of family breakdowns, plus all the financial pressure that comes with that on top of the emotional toll. Nobody will tell you divorce is easy, not even Kate and Nelly. But they are also happier being divorced than they ever were when they were married. And they're not the only ones. Divorce has been on the rise steadily since 2020. Lockdowns and restrictions, the lack of travel, forced quantity time, it led to a lot of women like Nelly and Kate having a reckoning and realising, I just cannot do this anymore. You may have noticed it around you in your friendship circles, or maybe some of the women you work with. It might even be your story or your feelings. To cater to this growing number of newly single or thinking about it post-pandemic women in their 40s, Kate and Nelly started a podcast called The Single Life of Us. And in this episode of No Filter, we spoke about dating women after being with a man for decades, self-discovery, the pursuit of happiness, and how they each knew that it was really time to go. Here's my chat with Kate and Nelly. Nelly, Kate, suddenly single, in your 40s. Before I ask you your divorce stories, I'm going to ask you about your story until the point of divorce.
Okay, you want to go first?
All right, sure.
Kate?
So I was in a relationship with my husband. I started going out with him when I was 17.
It's very early.
Very early. It's maybe a little too early.
Yeah.
So maybe you should have a little bit of wild time. I was in a really conservative religion, so marriage was freedom. You know, it was the only way I could move out of
Marriage
home.
was freedom.
Marriage was freedom. Yeah.
Was he also very religious?
Yes, same religion. So, yeah. Yes.
So when you say freedom, you got away from your parents.
Yes.
So did you go straight from like your bedroom to your
pretty much
wedding
I boarded
night?
with a family that also lived at church and, went straight in. You couldn't live together before you were married.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you were never single really. You were just a child and then a wife.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then we were married for 29 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So 5 kids.
5 kids. Did you have them quite quickly?
The first one, I had him when I was 21. I got married when I was 20. And then over the next 11 years, I had the other 4. I mean, I had twins at the end, so sort of cheating. And, yeah.
Not that sort of cheating.
No, not that sort of cheating.
They were your husband's twins.
They've been DNA tested, so they're all his.
And was it a happy marriage?
I don't think it was an unhappy marriage. We didn't fight a lot. There wasn't constant stress. Who is in a long-term relationship without absolute
29 years.
periods of shit, you know? And I remember Mum saying to me, people say you have bad days, you have bad years when you're married. And actually it was good advice. But I think when I got to about year 10, I thought maybe it's not getting better.
And you mean, we should clarify, year 10 of the marriage,
Yeah,
not
sorry.
year 10 at school, because
No.
that was around the time that you met your husband.
It was.
Nelly, what
Yes.
about you?
Well, the complete antithesis in a way. I mean, I moved out of home when I was 17. So I grew up in a little country town in WA, very conservative socially, but no religion. So not the sort of religious guilt, but a lot of social pressure to conform to various things. And then when I got to uni, so I was the first in my family to go to uni, and it blew my fucking mind. Like I remember meeting a guy with a mohawk, and I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, people have weird hair.
Yeah.
And they're interesting. You know, like my first friend I met was this Jewish guy, and he said to me, he's like, oh, given where you come from, are you anti-Semitic? And I said, oh, no, I'm Anglican. Like, I had no idea what he was talking about. So I was this little country bumpkin, and I just felt like I'd come home. I just met all the weirdos. You know, I started in engineering, lasted 2 weeks in that, went into the arts faculty and just found my people and just had the best time ever. Kept my old friends. I still have school friends now, but I made all these new odd friends. I had girlfriends, I had boyfriends, I had everything in between, and eventually ended up in Melbourne.
It's interesting what you said about weirdos, because being in a country town and a small, whether it's, you know, having a sheltered upbringing in a country town or within a religion, the idea that there were lots of different people, because now it's just like, well, they're just people.
That's right.
How long did it take you to even consider the idea that, I could be with a woman, I could be with a man, I could be with a Jewish person?
I was going to say 5 minutes because that would be funny. But in a way, yes, immediately, because when you meet different people that you haven't been exposed to and you realise that they are exactly like you, and in fact they probably represent the parts of you that weren't acceptable, and so you feel relieved to have met them, it is almost immediate. But I think the first time, you know, if you want to get really down, the first time I probably hooked up with a woman was probably a year after. You know, it probably took me a year or so to consciously sort of go, this is available. To find the uniform Mia, right? It was the 90s. You couldn't just look like anything back then. You had to wear the leather uniform.
But not everyone, like now it's like whatevs, but in the 90s that was still a big deal.
Oh, it was one of the hardest times of my life. In a weird way though, and I think you'll understand this, like coming from the background I came from, in a way I didn't realise how big of a deal it was because I'd never seen anyone come out. So I didn't understand the ramifications. Weirdly, it's sort of like when I started comedy, I didn't know anything about comedy. So when opportunities came, I didn't get intimidated.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that hard until hard things started to happen.
So when did you get married?
So we never actually got married. So I met my long-term male partner when I was probably about 23, 24, but we were friends. So I'd come over to Melbourne to do a PhD, and me being me, I went, I don't know anyone. I'll become president of the student union. So I just got involved, and he was the secretary of one of the clubs. Anyway, we became friends, and then we got together a couple of years after that. So I would have been, 26-ish.
And did you guys get serious straight away, and was it sort of monogamy from that point?
It was monogamy, yes. I had friends who were in open relationships. But I've never, honestly, I say this with no judgment, and it's hard to say without sounding like you're judging. I just don't understand open relationships. I'm not built for it.
Why not?
I find one person enough work.
That's very true.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not jealous, honestly. I'm not built for jealousy, but I just find
like the emotional and physical investment.
Maybe I overinvest, I don't know. But I can't give that much.
So did you and your partner have kids?
We did, but again, so different to Kate. I had my first when I was 33, and my last when I was almost 39, so completely different life stage. I have to say I really noticed it at 39 too, the difference, even from 33 to 39 physically.
Same.
Really noticed it, and I wasn't prepared for that.
Kicks your ass.
It kicked my ass. Even though I felt more competent because I'd already parented, just physically it kicked my ass.
So you had two?
Two girls, yeah.
So how old are your kids now, Kate?
So they are 28, 26, 21 and 17-year-old twins.
Wow.
Nelly?
And so mine are 15 and 9.
So, Kate, I want to go back to you. When did you first start considering the idea that maybe this wasn't going to be till death do you part?
The truth is, on my 40th birthday, and I just turned 50. Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yep. And I just thought, you cannot think that. Like,
Did he get you a bad present? Is that? Because my husband didn't make a video for me for my 50th, and I thought about that.
Day.
Yeah. Go on.
No, honestly, it wasn't anything to do with him, even though it was everything to do with him, if that makes any sense. I just thought, I don't think I love you, but I don't want to think like that. And when you've got 5 children and you're invested in, properties, and we both worked for ourselves and had a joint super, and that sounds silly, but it's actually really complicated to unpick all of that.
Doesn't sound silly at all.
No.
And your twins have additional needs.
Yeah, they do.
So you were very enmeshed.
Very. And I couldn't see a way to do it without hurting people, because you can't.
When you say, I don't love you, people talk about the difference between being in love with someone and loving someone. And the in love kind of butterflies, my God, you're just amazing. Doesn't.
No, well, I can't remember that.
Yeah, so had something shifted further?
I think definitely, and I think I was so young. He's 8 years older than me. I think that he's a really consistent person, and I am not. I think I've probably had 3 evolutions of Kate, and that is not his fault. So I was obviously really conservative Christian. Then I left the church when I had the twins, and I was like, this isn't for me anymore. And then as I grew old, I was 33 when I had them, and then in that, last 10, 15 years, I think I've become really who I am. I think that's probably when women work out who they are. And I would say he's the same. So he's a really nice, consistent person.
So there was no drama.
No.
There was no infidelity. There was no light bulb moment. It was just a creeping feeling that you then just couldn't shake.
Yeah. And of course there are issues. No marriage is perfect.
Yeah.
So then I think once you've entertained that thought even for a second, the things that annoy you more. And then you're like, this is me, this is not them. And so you go through all the head miles, so many head miles. And, I think in the end I just thought, well, my therapist said to me, you burst out of the top of the Coke bottle. It was like, I can't do it anymore, which is massive because as a mother, I am going to hurt the people I love the most in the world. Yep.
Without wanting to pry, I'm going to pry. How did you tell him?
I just sat him down and said, I can't, and I'm really sorry. And I am sorry. I'm genuinely sorry that we couldn't be one of those couples that stayed together and were happy, but neither of us were happy. And I think we have this whole narrative in society that, especially as women, we should sacrifice our happiness and I should be miserable but married. And a lot of my friends wanted that. And I think in some ways it holds a mirror up to them when you leave.
Oh, you mean, I'm going to want to ask you about that, how the reaction in your friends. It's often said that by the time a woman tells her male partner usually that she wants to leave, it's too late for him to do anything. And he's often very shocked because he didn't see it coming, whereas she's been thinking about it, in your case, for a decade.
Yeah. And I would say that was true for us. And even though he knew, he didn't want to know, and that's fine because we have a great family, we have great friends, we have a lovely home. I don't have anything that I can be like, oh, that's shit about my life,
Was there something that changed for you in that? Was it waiting until the kids got to a certain age, that they finished school, that they moved out of home? What was it for you?
Well, I think my 3rd child is extremely academic and I wanted her to finish school. I really, really thought that is a shit thing to do to someone in year 11 and 12. And then COVID happened. So then we were all in the house for 2 years because we come from Melbourne. So I think there's been a lot of relationship shifts in Melbourne after COVID, because I think that was really, is this retirement? You know?
It was a bit of a practice for that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a little look through the looking glass of happily ever after or not.
There's no good time. There is no good time to do this, I don't think, and I don't think there's a bad time. That's what I think now. I think just do it because it will sort itself out. And as someone said to me yesterday, you are the same person. The kids love you the same. They just have to get used to the fact that there's a new way of life, and I do love them the same.
Nelly, how did it unravel for you?
Well, I was reminded, so I used to do a joke years ago, well before I was in this situation, where the gist of it was basically, you know, if women wrote Hollywood rom-coms, the narratives would be, I need things to change, I need things to change, will you change, let's go to therapy. And then they break up and the guy goes, I didn't see this coming.
Yeah.
Right? How often do we hear that?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's true over and over again, where you hear women say, I tried this, I asked him to do this, I tried being different, I tried being smaller, I tried being bigger, I tried, in every sense of the word, I tried to change the situation. And yet still, so many of my friends' male partners, when it has ended, have turned around and go, I'm completely blindsided. And I'm in two minds about that. Part of me believes them and the part of me goes, oh, fuck off. Like she's told you for years that she wanted to be listened to more, that she wanted more attention, that she wanted help around the house, that she wanted you to pick up your towel, like whatever it is, from the most benign to the more significant. See me. Can you please see me? There seems to me among a certain group of men an obstinance. You know, it's like they refuse to shift, or they just think you'll stay, because lots of us do, you know, for a long time. So, I mean, that's the extreme version. My relationship, it wasn't that extreme, but there was an element of that, of me kind of like everyone. You don't walk away from a relationship with children easily. So it's
How old were your kids at the time?
So 13 and 8.
And did you also have it in your head for quite a long time?
No, not consciously. I mean, I'd been trying things. I think for me the catalyst was having a child. When I had my first daughter, I think I started to see the things that I was unhappy with in the relationship more, which I think is a very common kind of experience.
Just that maybe you had either different views about parenting, or I think after you have a child, resentment can creep in. And I think that's very corrosive in a relationship.
Yeah. I think we were both, you know, we're university graduates, we're loony lefties, my ex is gender studies trained, we're feministas, and it wasn't equal. And I think once you have kids, you just can't ignore that anymore. And like Kate, I'm not even blaming, but I noticed, you know, and I tried to fight that tidal wave, because you forget, you know, one of the classic stories is I remember sitting there and I had just done all the Christmas shopping for my family, for our kids, for our friends, for his family. And I remember sitting there thinking, why am I doing that? And I brought it up with him and he said, oh, well, don't worry about it.
Just don't do it.
Just don't do it.
Just don't buy presents for anyone.
Yeah. No one will mind.
And I'm like, do you understand?
Just cancel Christmas, Grinch.
Like the cultural ramifications, the emotional ramifications. It won't be, your mum won't be mad at you. You know, you won't sit there all day feeling bad. You know, that cultural pressure, it doesn't matter how much you intellectualise it, is still there. And that started to build, and I felt like the best way I can describe, there was no massive fracture, same as Kate. There was no one had an affair, no one was abusive. I'm still very good friends with my ex. You know, we have a loving relationship, we co-parent, all that stuff. But I just felt less and less like myself, smaller. Just felt like smaller and smaller. And I could tell he felt like he was doing things wrong. And I didn't like making him feel like that either. That's not how I roll. I like to lift people up. I really do. Let's say it's you didn't pick up your towel. I'm enraged. He feels like shit. You know, how is that good?
You get trapped in that dynamic.
And you're trapped in that dynamic.
It's interesting what you both say about the first thing that I imagine people said to you is, but why? Like, what went wrong?
Yeah.
Did someone cheat? Have you met someone else?
Yeah.
And this idea that it was fine, but it wasn't good enough and that you wanted more.
Yes.
Do you think women internalise the idea that that's greedy, particularly when there are children involved, Kate?
Oh,
You're nodding.
I really
Absolutely,
do.
yeah.
I think they do. I think I did. Like I thought, I can't do this. This is wrong. But
Like, he doesn't beat me.
No, that's
He's
right.
not abusive.
Yeah.
He's a decent human that goes to
he
work.
has a job.
Yeah, that's right.
He's
and
kind
he loves
to the
his
kid.
children.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a good co-parent.
Yeah. And so people really struggled with that. And I had a lot of people say to me, but what's the actual reason? And I was like, I'm really unhappy. I'm really sad. Oh, no, that's not a good reason. You should be sad. Yeah, that's fine.
But what happened?
Yeah, something happened. And I had a girlfriend ring another friend and say, something's going on. What's actually going on with Kate? Is she cheating on him? And she was like, no, she just doesn't want to be married anymore. But I don't think – we hardly hear that story. We always hear that he had an affair or she had an affair. There was years leading up to that, and maybe a lot of people blow up their marriages like that because they don't know how to get out. It's really hard to get out of a long-term relationship. It's the hardest thing I've done.
And sometimes do you think, Nelly, people use an affair as a getaway car?
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can't, if you cheated, that's a line. But if someone just says, I'm just not happy, like someone can try to convince you that, no, that's not true, I'll try harder.
Oh, I remember saying to Kate when I was deciding to leave my partner, and I mean, I was being flippant about it, but it was true. I was like, I wish he'd cheated so that I could say, this is why I had to. To friends, to family, to my kids, or not that I'd tell them that, but you know what I mean. If I could just give an easy reason rather than a more complex human reason. But can I answer what you asked Kate from one of our listeners from our podcast? So she rang in and said that she went on a date. She'd been married for 20 years or something. She went on a date and they were driving home and they stopped at the servo and got petrol. He got out of the car and put petrol in the car, and I said to Kate, I know what she's going to say. She burst into tears because she said for 20 years, her husband had never filled up the car. He'd leave the car empty. She was so overwhelmed with the gesture. Now, I'm sure these people would say to her, he's a nice guy. He wasn't abusive. She's like, it's not enough. Like, how low is that bar? That you're going to go on a date. You're grateful that he put petrol in the car you share.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough. And surely in 2022, we can say as women, you're entitled to more. You're entitled to more than that.
How did you tell your kids, Nelly?
Oh, that was brutal. I mean, in a way it was fine, but it was just like the hardest thing I've ever done.
What was the fine part? Start with that.
What was fine was that they didn't fall apart, so I thought it would be catastrophic.
How old were they at the time?
So they would have been 8 and 13. I think the hardest thing for me was that I had really promised them that it would never happen.
Why'd you do that?
Yeah, I know, because I believe that.
In what context did you promise them?
Seeing other friends divorce, and them getting stressed and asking, would that ever happen? No, that wouldn't happen to us.
And did they, remind you of that?
Absolutely.
What did you say?
And that's probably my biggest regret. And I said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, I made a mistake. And that's the only bit I kick myself about. I actually don't feel guilty about ending it. And I know that's a taboo thing to say, but I don't, because I don't think their dad and I were in love anymore, and I don't think that they were learning healthy modelling, especially having 2 girls. I don't want them growing up thinking they should ask for less than what they want.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I get everything I want and, that doesn't mean greed. That means if something's not working for both of you, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, friendship, it's okay, you're allowed to leave. So I actually feel proud of myself, honestly, not guilty.
You should.
But telling them was really hard. And then they had all the normal questions like, will we ever see Dad again? Where is he going to live? What about Christmas? And both of us, I'm lucky, we get along. We sat together and we very calmly said, I will always love Dad. I will always love him. He's my family still. We can have Christmas together. Dad can come over for dinner, or whatever it is, like just that reassurance.
So it was less existential, more kids want to know details.
Practical.
So that's a good tip. Get that stuff worked out so you can answer their very specific questions about their lives.
I couldn't believe both of them asked me, which I had never, ever. I'm not someone who talks about money. Both of them said to me, will we have enough money? Because what have they seen in Hollywood and on YouTube or wherever? They've seen single mothers with no, and that is the reality for a lot, but they wanted to know, will we keep the house? I hadn't expected that. But we just very calmly answered the questions.
So what was the gap between deciding and, you talking to your husband or your partner about it and then sitting down and telling the kids? And did you specifically go through all of that stuff so that you had answers for them?
No, because we hadn't anticipated all of it. We sat down together, we spoke to, I mean, this is so Melbourne middle class, but we spoke to their therapist. You know what I mean? Like we spoke to our therapist, we spoke to their, we tried couples counselling, so we spoke to professionals. And so we had anticipated some of the questions, particularly about access. Did
the therapist give you a template, sort of help you uncouple, like Gwyneth Paltrow's conscious uncoupling, rather than having a screaming fight and I'm leaving and whatever, do it in a sort of calm and rational way?
Kind of. I found the kids' therapist the most helpful because she is looking at it through their eyes. So she said, a variation on the theme, but basically be the container. If they escalate emotionally, don't go with them. If they get worked up, try and stay level-headed. They'll come back to you, which I thought was really good advice. Answer their questions very calmly and basically don't shit-can each other. So even if he says something where you go, ooh, or she, let it go, talk to him later. Just show the kids that you can be civil and then ring your friend after and say, what a dickhead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I imagine that sounds like the optimum situation where you can both calmly sit down and say, we love each other, but this isn't, we're not,
Yeah.
Not every situation is like that, I imagine, and not every couple is able to sit down together in front of the children. How did it go for you, Kate? Because your kids are such wildly different ages.
They are. So I actually told my girls first. So I'm really close to every mum says that, aren't they? But I'm very close to my girls. We go to heaps of music festivals. My ex and I have very different relationships with our children. So that was sort of good, actually. So
were your girls all still living at home at the time?
One was out. So she was doing her uni in Melbourne and, we just live in the suburbs, but anyway. So I took them out for dinner, but they said they knew that's why I was taking them out for dinner. So, which was interesting because we go out for dinner. So they just knew it was coming and they said they'd worked it out about 18 months before. So they were just waiting. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, it was horrible and I won't go into it, but it was also lovely because we're all like, I love you too, And they, of course, were genuinely worried about everyone else in the family. So I think that made me really weirdly happy that there was enough love in the family, like that everyone was worried about everyone else and it wasn't like, what about me? And when I told the twins, one of them said to me, I said, look, I've got to tell you something and blah, blah. And he okay. And he said to me, oh, God, I thought you were going to tell me I wasn't allowed to have the Xbox over the summer holidays.
Spoken like a teenage boy.
So I was like, okay, I think we're going to be all right here. But I think we, like Nelly, have been really conscious in my daughter came back from overseas last weekend. We all had a family dinner, because she wanted us all together. So it doesn't matter how you're feeling about, what did the lawyer say about finances or whatever. That is not the kid's problem. And I know that I am lucky. There was no domestic violence. There was no horrible affair for 20 years. I don't have any of that. But it's still tricky when you break up with someone. And so I am super proud that we get together for birthdays and Christmases and Easter, and my children share half his DNA. And I love my children and I never want them to think, oh, Mum's talking bad about Dad. Does she think that about me? So it doesn't matter how I feel. It will never come out of my mouth.
I think one of the best mottos we've heard is you can be friendly, not friends.
Yes, really good.
Because I sort of was putting pressure on myself. I think you have to be you have to Gwyneth,
consciously
you have to do all that and you have to be friends.
Live next door.
Yeah.
And we did that for a bit around the corner. And now I kind of go, actually, no, we don't need to do that. Like we need to be friendly. We need to be respectful. Not if you've got a narcissistic ex, not if you've got this is a whole heap of caveats.
Yep.
But to be friendly is kind of a variation on being civil. For the sake of your kids, and sometimes you're just sucking it up.
So friendly is the goal, and even if you can't be actually friendly, it's about faking friendly in front of the children.
I
if
think
you've got
to some
children.
extent,
Yep.
So you're back out in the wild.
Yeah.
How long have you been single for?
About 20 months or so? Yeah.
So what are the first things you started to think about? Because I imagine your identity as someone who's part of a family unit and a couple is a certain thing for all those years. And then how do you evolve that identity and start inhabiting that new identity? I imagine hair removal is probably a priority.
You mean how do you prepare for dating?
Yeah. Well, even just how do you start looking at yourself through fresh eyes? Because that's one of the toughest things about being in a long-term relationship.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was saying to you the other night, Kate, when we had dinner, you know, that thing of when you've been with someone for a really long time, you don't delight them anymore.
No.
You don't delight each other.
You don't catch their
No,
eye.
you might love them and you might be in love with them and there are times and whatever, but you don't, they're not like,
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah.
No.
Ooh. Do you know, one of the weirdest things, and it was not conscious at all, but I noticed within a couple of months that I was getting hit on. And I just didn't, like, this is not,
Who
you know.
was hitting on you? Like what
just
kind
like
of person?
randos.
But where? Where were
like
they
in
hitting
a
on you?
bar or, I don't know.
Didn't before?
No.
Even though you were in a bar before?
Absolutely. Or I'd been, in stand-up, obviously I'm out a lot. Like I'd be in work situations or something and I think, oh, fuck, are you flirting with me? Oh, my Lord. And I think now I look back on it and I think, oh, you're emitting something else. You're giving some kind of sense that you're single and available. I don't know if it's pheromones. I don't know if you behave different. I can't put my finger on it. But I noticed that. And that's when I started to go, oh, maybe I could date. Because I hadn't been thinking about that. Like I hadn't been kind of going, I want to get out of this relationship because I want to have sex with someone else or I want to date. So I had just been, I want to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't about the next thing, So it took me a few months to sort of start thinking about dating. And of course, I hadn't dated since I was, the year 2000 and it was 2020, was it? Or whatever it was. So there's apps. Do I do that? It's COVID. What's the hair removal situation? What do you wear? I don't know. Like there was so many questions, but I found it really exciting, if I'm perfectly honest.
Before you even start dating, I want to know about vicariously live through you two. What's it like having your own space?
Oh, well, see, that's what you bask in. That's why I wasn't thinking about dating.
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean, that turns me on.
Oh, my gosh.
So the first thing both of us did is redid our bedrooms independently.
Yep. I got new curtains.
Yep.
I got
a new
beautiful
bed.
shears and blinds that you push a button and they go up and down. And I was like, this is the shit.
New
and
mattress.
I got a green velvet bed head, all beautiful floral mismatch. I don't like anything to match. All mismatched pillows and cushions. And I just would sit in there and think, this is mine.
Yeah.
It's all mine. No one's coming in here. I mean, children do. But like, I don't have to share this in the middle
And what
of the
did I
night.
do? Complete opposite. Everything white.
Yeah.
Everything white.
But it's about not having to negotiate or compromise or ask or consult, even if, or even if you're just pretending to say, what do you think?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't actually matter. It's only pleasing yourself. Does it take a while to even discover what it is that you want after so many years of sort of shaping yourself around
I don't think
someone else?
so. I think it's
Really
like,
not.
oh my God, here I am.
The first thing I did was get a TV in my room. And I understand that. People don't want it. But I didn't have to please anybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm getting a fuck off bogan TV on one of those arms that pulls out and I am going to bask in the night I have alone in bed watching telly. And I love it and I still love it. It didn't take me long at all to think about what I wanted.
No.
The
weirdest thing for me, and it just continues to happen, is people are constantly saying to me, you look different. But I don't look different.
Yeah, you do.
But
No, you do.
I have another podcast, The 2Ps, and so I do social stories on there and it's just constant. What's different?
You
look
look
different.
completely different.
But I'm the same.
No,
right?
you're not.
but I'm not. Do you know what I mean? So it's like people could.
But is that,
see.
to be cynical, is that because you're dating now so you have to try harder physically?
No.
Like, you've got a bit more makeup on, you dressing a bit nicer.
I think it's an energy.
It's an energy.
Yeah. Well, this dress is 2 years old, so it can't be.
Yeah.
But I think, and maybe I was just, like when you have a baby, but you don't have full postnatal depression, but you're just a little bit down. Maybe I was that and I didn't know. Because I'd been that for so long.
Well, you were muted.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And because I'm outgoing and I'm loud and so people don't think that of me. But actually I think I'm less outgoing now.
Yeah, because you're more calm. I think you look different and it's corny, but it's true. You've got more sparkle in your eyes. You smile more. Those things are unconscious. You walk into a room with sparkly eyes and a big smile, people are going to hit on you.
Yeah, it's been weird. I know people have hit on me too and I am
going to go
shocked. I haven't been hit on since I was 17. I don't know what to do. I was standing in Melbourne and
she's standing out the front of a 7-Eleven.
And this guy comes over and goes, what have you got on tonight? And I said, what? Like I couldn't speak. I was so like, what?
Yeah.
Very weird. Very, very weird.
Because you don't see yourself. It's almost like you move through the world as a eunuch.
Yeah.
As a sort of a sexless avatar because you're not looking.
You're a mother.
And I'm 50.
Yeah.
So society also says, well, probably late 30s is your last sexy decade. So I'm well past that. So how then are people seeing me as that? Because I wasn't seeing me as that.
After the break, Kate and Nelly fill me in on trying out the apps for the first time and what it's like dating a woman after decades of marriage with a man. Were you intimidated, Kate, at the idea of dating? And did you suddenly think, but I'm not a size 6 and I don't have Kim
100%.
Kardashian and I'm not this and I'm not that and, a few things have gone on down there.
Well, a lot of things. A lot of
people have come out of that
lot of people
place.
Out of that entrance?
Yes.
A lot of people have exited from that entrance.
It's not the same as it was. That's what I'll say. Yes. It's had work.
Who's comparing?
Yeah. Well, nobody. Well, weirdly, like I'm not fully in a relationship, but I thought that I would care and I don't. So if you'd have asked me a year ago, I would have said, look, I've probably got to lose 20 kilos. I need to go and get laser hair removal. I need to make sure that I look a certain way. And yet when
to compete or to be
attractive
my most hot self.
Yes. And then when someone said something to me, like I had my 50th and someone said something to me the next day, if X hadn't happened, like we had a little bit of a crisis at the 50th, tonight would have ended differently. And I was like, that person's hitting on me. And I felt great. I didn't think, because that person saw me now. Right?
Yeah.
So
you're right in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this is the thing we don't talk about dating in middle age. If you have, as I'm sure many of your listeners have, been in a relationship where the passion has waned to some degree or it's different, no one's in the butterfly phase for 20 plus
you
years.
Can't, you die.
All of a sudden you start dating, whether it's online, whether it's in person, and people are going, hello. And you're going, oh,
well, because they're delighted by you because
Delighted.
you're a blank page and then you see yourself reflected in the eyes of this person who thinks
Correct.
you're amazing.
Correct.
Because they don't know you
Yeah,
yet.
that's right.
I remember, and I tell this story not to be vain, but Kate knows this story. Like I got drunk and registered for an app, right? I thought, right, it's time. It was probably like 10 months after the split. It's time. And I put on
She
my
messages
profile.
the group chat.
Message to go, I'm doing it.
What
I'm doing
app do
it.
people our age use?
I put it on
I've
Bumble.
never used one.
Bumble. So is it Bumble? Is it Hinge? Is it Tinder? Is it Grindr?
I think lots of
suppose it
people
depends.
do different ones. I started on Bumble, ended up moving to different ones. But, I'm a writer, so I took great pleasure in writing my bio. I had some nice pictures. I was feeling
Nelly's
myself.
extremely photogenic.
I look better on the photo, which
She's-
actually worried me because I thought we're going to end up on the date and go, you don't look that
And did
good.
you have to pick an age range?
Yes.
Did you?
And it was so fun because I was in my bed watching my TV on my group chat. What I didn't expect is that I woke up the next morning and had hundreds of messages.
Yeah, so what'd you do then?
I freaked out and deleted the app.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Because I wasn't ready.
I see.
Right. But it also stayed in my mind. I thought, this is a photo of me from today.
Yeah, I didn't have to face tune it. I didn't have to.
I didn't have
No
to lose
filters.
weight. I didn't have to pretend to be younger. I
Yeah.
didn't have pretend I wasn't a mother. I didn't anything. This.
What did you say in
I'm
your
on the
bio?
market.
What did you say in your bio? Like, what do you?
My first line was "time poor single mum"
So
because I thought
Oh,
That's
wow.
the truth.
I'm letting you know. But
Yeah.
I basically the gist of it was quality over quantity. You know,
And you still got hundreds.
absolutely.
What age range did you put for the guys you were interested in?
I think I put 40 plus. Yeah, I didn't really know what end I'd top out at. I wasn't sure.
And you're what age now?
I'm 48.
So a lot of my girlfriends, when they become single in their 40s, suddenly discover that they're very attractive to much younger guys.
Oh, my God.
Isn't it
Can you
amazing?
speak to me of that?
Oh, so I was women only. I was seeking women. I thought.
Well, that's a plot twist.
Yeah,
although
it's a
sort of, because we teased it in the
mention
beginning.
at the beginning. Yeah.
So that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So you also Bumble does girls
Yes.
as well.
Yep.
So is that why you ended your marriage?
No, absolutely not. Because I've been bisexual. I mean, I hate the word bisexual. And we
Why?
can get into, well, I think it implies a whole heap of things that I'm not.
Like what?
Like unfaithful. I
Do
think
you?
is
I don't think it implies
absolutely
that. Oh.
my experience suggests otherwise.
Okay, well, you would know.
Was I attracted to other people? Yes. Isn't everyone? But I've never cheated in my life. The assumption, I think, especially for bisexual men, I really feel for bisexual men, is that they can't keep it in their pants.
Greedy.
They'll read anyone. Greedy.
Yeah, that's the sort of
And
stereotype.
I'm really
isn't it?
picky. You know? I
She
am.
is.
I'm really picky. So
what made you decide to go on the app and use a female
Ladies
filter?
only.
Ladies only.
basically, and, you know, I know this is stereotypical, but I used to work in family violence. I thought it was safer. That's the truth. I mean, I could give you another reason, but if friends had set me up with a bloke, I probably would have gone on a date with a guy. Like, I'm not opposed to it, but in the online dating space, not that women can't be cray, mate. I can tell you some stories, right?
Really?
It's not
Tell
that-
me a story.
I will. It's not that dating women is unproblematic. Like, there is family violence in all sexualities. There's stalking, you know, all the things, but it just felt safer. Honestly, it just felt safer. And maybe unconsciously too, I wanted something different to what I had, you know. So, yeah, that's the short story.
Then you
Yeah.
deleted the app with all those hundreds of lusty ladies.
With all that, but what reminded me was you saying the younger ones. The thing I found hilarious was the ones that would slide into my messages or into my DMs, and I did speed dating. The same thing happened. They'd be like 20-something. And I'd be like, sweetheart, like, you're too young, you know, I could be your mum. And then they would try and give me a lecture about how age doesn't matter. I'm like, do you know the only person who says that? A 23-year-old. Like, I am not going to date someone in their 20s. I'm sorry, ageist or not.
Yeah.
Why not?
They're too young.
What,
They're
but
too
too
young.
young in what way? You're just not sexually attracted to them,
No.
or just their brains?
For a range of reasons. One, I think when you're in your 20s and someone's in their 40s, there's a power dynamic that I'm not interested in. Like, I don't care how empowered you are. I just don't think you fully grow up until you're at least 30, honestly. But also, I talk about Melissa Etheridge and they go, who's that?
Yeah. Welcome to my work life.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to drop
Don't
a
know
Bon
living on
Jovi
a
joke.
prayer. I
Yeah.
am not going out with you. Yeah.
You know, like,
so
there's
true.
just not enough in common for me. But I would mum them. Like, you should have seen me on speed dating. Jesus, there was only one woman over 40.
When you say speed dating, was that in person or it's an online thing as well?
No, in person, 5 minutes each.
Where did you find that?
Yeah, online. I did it under duress.
Yeah, I was like, go on, do it because it'll be great for the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not doing
Not
it. So
doing it. And
you
I
do it.
would say, I reckon I can see how it could work because you do hit a point with online dating where, you know, one of my favourite profiles, one of the women said, no pen pals. You know, like, you can be exchanging so many bloody
I see.
messages and it's exhausting. Whereas if you sit in front of each other for 5 minutes, you go, oh, yeah, we click or we don't. You know,
Yeah.
it's a much more efficient way to do it.
I've heard that if there's too long a gap between the first sort of communication and meeting up in person,
yes.
it never works and it just peters out. Is that what you mean by pen pals?
I
that
think
it just
it
goes for
peters
too long?
out, or the opposite, and this might be women together. I'm still working this out because it's a different dynamic, but I think it gets out of hand So you're messaging and you've decided you're moving to, Dalesford and you're getting a cavoodle and you've never met.
Yeah.
So you're actually creating a relationship in your mind. I think it's stereotypical, but I think men are less likely to do that. So that is really tricky. I reckon you got to, maybe you need a rule, 10 messages or something, have a drink.
No, I've heard that the young people say that as well, and it's not just a male-female thing, that it just can go on for too long then you lose it turns into something else.
And then you meet and go, oh, shit, I've literally fabricated
actually a waste
this
of time.
entire thing.
Kate, if you don't do the apps, is there an alternative when you're ready to meet people?
I'm going to find out. I like to meet people, talk to them, and then have a pash.
But where?
She wants it to be 1985.
I want it to be 1985.
Pissed in a bar and get picked up.
Yeah, maybe not 1985. I was 12, but maybe
Okay.
maybe 1990.
1995.
Where do you go to meet people?
Yeah.
Well, I just, make Nelly take me out.
Yeah.
Because she knows people. Yeah.
I'm the vector.
Yeah.
So find a single friend.
Yeah.
Is that the most
Or
important thing?
even a friend in a relationship who goes, actually, you might be really nice with this person. And even if it's not contrived, but we're all having lunch.
Yeah.
And then you just, I don't know.
You're expanding your circle.
Yeah.
I think try online. There's too much resistance to it.
Yeah.
It can be really great. And
I think there's the perception that it's all really young people because a lot of people, by the time you get to your 40s or 50s, you might have children that are on the apps.
True.
Young adult children or teenagers who are on the apps. And so you're that's your idea of what the apps are.
Yeah.
But so you're reliably informing the listeners of this podcast.
I'm all for it.
That there are grown-ups on the app.
There are grown-ups on the apps, and I'm not going to say that it works for everyone. I haven't yet ended up in a relationship from the apps, but geez, I've had a great time. I've had some great dates, and even when it doesn't work out, you've had two adults together having a drink. How bad can it be? Do you know what I mean? It depends how you go into it, what attitude. But one of the other things I would suggest, and I've said this to Kate, when you're ready, tell your friends explicitly. Don't just let them think, oh, maybe Kate might like something. Say, I'm looking. This is what I'm looking for.
But do you fit single friends, and I've done this to my regret, where I've just gone, oh, she's single, he's single, he's single, you should meet without any thought of might they get on, are they similar? It's more just, oh, they're both single.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing to do?
I think it's fine.
Okay. I do too, because I don't think you know if someone's going to get along with someone. Because if you write on paper, oh, I want this, do you ever find that?
No, but it's also great. Let's say I said to you, Mia, I'm looking for a woman between the age of 40 and 55 and I like someone outgoing. It might spark in you. Oh,
so give them a little filter.
Maybe give them a couple of things or say, I don't want this kind of thing. And I have found that has prompted in friends, actually, I do know someone where they haven't thought about it. What's the worst that can happen? You go and have a date.
Have you noticed there are more women in their 40s leaving long-term relationships that were heterosexual relationships and deciding to explore their sexuality?
That's a hard one for me to answer because
you already did.
I came out in 1992, so
as bisexual.
Yeah. Well, initially I came out as lesbian because I thought you had to.
That was the rule.
Because I had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So I thought, well,
that's what you were called.
Yeah.
And weirdly, this is a long story, but when I started seeing my male partner, that was in a lot of ways harder. It was another coming out. I used to do a joke. It was I came out, I had to go back in. I lost friends.
Yep.
I lost friends. I lost a community that I felt really part of and never really felt accepted back into that community.
Because people our age, Kate and Nelly, we grew up thinking, as you say,
binary,
exactly. And it's well, if you took the left-hand turn, you were on that road forever.
Yep.
So it didn't occur to many of us to even glance left because we identified as heterosexual.
Yep.
But now, being single at our age, there are more options.
And I think for me, growing up in a really conservative Christian home, there wasn't that option.
No.
And also, like Nelly says, when I was growing up, I had gay male friends who were quite overtly gay, but the only female queer people that I knew were very butch lesbians, right?
It was Prisoner.
It was Prisoner, yeah.
That was your
That was
option.
it. There was no...
There wasn't Ellen. There wasn't Miley
No.
Cyrus with a girlfriend
No.
and Cara Delevingne.
No, none of that.
Yeah.
So I
Wasn't
don't-
Portia.
No Portia.
Yeah.
So I think if you didn't relate to that and you thought, well, I must be this.
Yeah.
So I'm deciding what I am, but isn't it great that I can?
Like during this podcast.
Yeah, right now. Give me another 10 minutes and I'll
She's
let you
going
know.
to announce it at the end.
How many people think we're a couple?
Everybody.
People keep thinking
Really?
we've given
Even
no
my mum.
indication.
Because you've said you're dating women.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you dating also men or just women at the moment still?
I haven't been on any dates with men, but I wouldn't, again, not opposed to it.
Not ruling it out. And
but
you're
no.
not ruling anything out either.
No. Actually, no, I am ruling men out. But that's just because I don't want to do that. And so I don't know
what?
whether you're going to put this in the podcast or not, but the first thing I said on our podcast is I am never sucking a dick again. And I am not.
Do you know how many times I've heard that from women who've recently got divorced
I am
at this
not
age?
doing it.
I've sucked my last dick, they
I
say.
have.
Yeah.
I really, really have. So
But do you
Yeah.
know what that speaks to, I think, is that, again, there's a whole suite of silent women in long-term relationships who are resentful that, quite frankly, their sexual needs aren't being met. And that's not necessarily about sexuality.
No.
I don't think it is in most cases. But what does I'm not sucking a dick mean? It means I'm resentful that I've got another job to do.
yeah, probably. And maybe as well, if I'd never considered that I could be gay or bisexual, then the most obvious thing to me that I didn't want to do was put that thing in my mouth.
Yeah, right.
So maybe that was, I just remember thinking about 2 or 3 years ago, and my daughters were really thrilled when I told them first.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Daughters love talking to their mothers
they
about
do.
sex.
Yeah.
Almost
Don't
as
they?
much as boys do.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think it is in some ways a brave new world, but I don't think, I don't know, someone will message me and say you're so wrong. I don't know if you suddenly become something. I think you've been something and you haven't given yourself permission to think about it.
Well, Glennon
Look,
Doyle said
Totally.
being gay isn't contagious. Freedom is contagious.
Correct.
So, you know, the idea of you can't be what you can't see. You can be it, but you kind of don't really think about it as being an option.
Well, and there's a reason there's a lot of late to les.
Late to
Late
les.
to les. And that is because for our generation, that wasn't, even though we did start to have queer role models, they were mostly men.
Yeah.
And they were mostly effeminate men. So even for, you know, butch gay men, I know a lot of them who came out in their 30s and 40s. So I thought, I can't be gay, you know, if I'm not that stereotype.
Visibly gay women are a relatively recent phenomenon in our
Yes.
culture, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Unless they were, you know, the Frankie from Prisoner. They were lecherous, they were sleazy, they were sad.
Yeah.
At worst, they were suicidal. They never had children. They didn't have friends, let alone in my case. I mean, the representations of bisexuality in some ways are even worse. You know, you're untrustworthy, you're mean, you're selfish, all of those kinds of things. I think our kids' generation see it completely differently.
Yeah.
And maybe that's freed. If the apps are anything, to answer your question in a very long roundabout way, if the apps are anything to go by, there's a shitload of late to les, right? I reckon when I went on Bumble, which is not a women for women, like it's a all gender thing, I got far more, like 90% of interest was from women.
From women who were previously identified as heterosexual.
I have no idea, but I just don't think there's that many lesbians.
Yeah, right.
Right? There could be. That's not my experience. And it's interesting going back to the visibility stuff. When I came out when I was, 18, 19, I distinctly, I love makeup. I had long hair, all that sort of stuff. And I remember thinking, oh, this isn't okay. I shaved my head. I literally wore overalls. I tried to become the thing that I thought I had to be. And that's such a relief to be this age and go, I'll do whatever I want. You get it or you don't. You're into this or not. You can shake this jelly or you can't.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there a degree of having to learn how to do sex again? Like having sex with new people, whether they're male or female. And if you haven't slept with women before, then you've got to learn a bunch of different stuff, although in a way not because you've got that body. But Do you have to go like, well, has things changed? What's happened since I've last been out there?
Yeah,
did you have to do research?
On our podcast, we have constant questions and we're like, we need Dolly Doctor again.
Yeah.
Like we need Dolly Doctor. I need to be able to write to someone and they'd tell me.
Most of the questions, pubes, sex toys, masturbation.
Well, let's go through those three things.
Yep.
So pubes, are you allowed to have them still?
Well, I am a fan of pubes, right? That's my personal, thing.
On others or yourself?
I don't care. On myself mostly. I don't care what anybody else does.
So to speak.
Yeah.
You're not pube phobic.
I'm not pube phobic. I think that I'm old. We had pubes. We were proud of them when we got them.
Yeah. Do you have to do a bit of scaping?
Yeah, I'm a maintenance gal.
Look, bit of a short back and sides.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anyone's advocating for completely untamed.
But they can.
Some. But there's definitely the pressures there.
Oh, it's definitely there because
you got to lift your game with sort of your maintenance.
And I know a lot of women younger than us have chosen to go completely hair-free, which is fine. More power to you, do what you want. But I think then that obviously puts pressure on us because we're like, oh, that's what women do now. We didn't know because we were in a relationship when women decided that.
Well, because I was going to say the mainstreaming of anal sex, for example, the mainstreaming of sex toys, the mainstreaming of BDSM and light bondage and kinks. Is it a whole new world? I mean, I don't know what you got up to in your long-term marriages and you by all means tell me, but also don't. But is it like, this is all new? Like what are the things, I'm not just talking about your own experiences, but when women are released back into the wild,
definitely.
How have things changed?
It has changed and the elephant in the room is porn. Whether you're pro-porn, neutral, anti-porn, whatever you are, porn has changed the sexual landscape. No one could deny otherwise.
Yeah.
So, for example, as a generalisation, we have got quite a few women in their 40s and 50s who only have sex with younger men. They don't want relationships. They want to have basically a boyfriend, that doesn't live with them and all that sort of stuff. They feel more pressure, I think, in the pube department. Men our age are used to pubes, quite frankly. Yeah. Men our age probably don't have an expectation of anal sex. They might want it.
Yeah.
They might ask you.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have an entitlement. Whereas I think there are actually quite a few younger guys who have grown up on porn who think it's quote unquote normal.
And things like choking and, some demeaning acts.
Yeah.
Women of our age having sex with younger guys, I've heard that too, that it is quite different.
Do you know what's interesting actually? I was talking to someone recently who I haven't dated younger women, but she had that experience with younger women as well, where she said it's her analysis, and this is just her analysis, was that they were playing a role of men that they had seen in porn and were kind of, I'm not trying to kink shame, but, would go into physical violence, for example, without asking.
With other women.
And playing like a hyper masculine role. And her theory, which again I think is fascinating, we could talk all day, was that those younger women wanted late to les who were more vulnerable, who hadn't been on the scene.
Say that again.
So the idea that if you've got a younger woman who likes a power dynamic, who is trying to play to a masculine stereotype that they might have learnt from porn, they're trying to be hyper masculine.
They might have learnt from heterosexual porn.
Yes. That they would prefer a woman, say in Kate's situation, for example, who'd never been with women before, who'd been in a long-term relationship, who hasn't been in the lesbian scene, who is possibly more vulnerable to going, oh, well, that must be what they do. So, okay.
Oh, they want a clean skin.
Correct.
That's really interesting.
I don't know if that's true. That's not my theory.
Because also where the last generation that grew up without having seen a million people have sex before we had sex.
Yes,
we are.
Whereas every generation
we learn on the job.
We learn on the job.
We did learn on the job.
But that idea of they're performing a role, you've got a lot of young women and men who learn about sex by watching other people have it, not by doing it and fumbling and learning it themselves.
And that's why her analysis, I thought, I can actually see that.
Could be possible.
I can see that. And again, an unspoken thing we don't talk about enough. There is family violence, there is domestic violence in same-sex relationships. Why wouldn't there be in dating? You know, but we leave, even young people now are so vulnerable to that because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. And these kids, especially if they're in the closet, their families aren't even meeting their partners and they're just in the fucking wild on their own with no life experience, trying to navigate, oh, should I be choked? Maybe everyone's being choked. Okay. You know, like it's a lot.
Well, nobody wants to try that on me, I'm telling you right now. I'm not down for that.
Kate, you mentioned earlier couple friends and how they reacted. It can be very destabilising to people in marriages when somebody leaves. What was the ripple effect in your world?
It was actually massive. It was like a tsunami, I would say. I think we've always been known as that couple. I've been in that couple my whole adult life, since I was a child actually. And a lot of my girlfriends knew it wasn't great, but when I actually pulled the plug, not all of them, some have been incredible and I will love them till the day I die. But I had a lot of people say, why can't you just keep doing it? Why? You've been doing it. Why can't you just keep doing it?
You've had literally people say, just pretend.
Oh, just pretend.
Oh, that's revealing about
Isn't
them,
it?
isn't it?
Yeah. And beautiful friends say, well, this is going to destroy the boys. So, you know, when you tell someone I'm ending my relationship, don't make them feel worse.
And don't try to talk them out of it.
No.
How are you? Can I help you?
Yes.
What do you need?
Here's a lasagna.
Yeah.
But no, I had a lot of negative feedback. And I think ending a relationship while I was 49 for no good reason, in inverted commas, freaks people out. It really freaks them out that you can make that decision, and it makes them think, maybe I need to make that decision, or maybe my partner's going to make that decision, or Kate always appeared so happy and now she's really happy. And
It's threatening to them.
It's really threatening.
Did you lose people out of your life?
Yeah, probably not gone, but definitely quieter. Yeah. And, you know, I was saying to Nelly, when I left the Seventh-day Adventist Church at the age of 33, I lost 80% of my friends. So I don't want to do that again. I don't want to start again with friends, you know. So it's tough because you're not just ending a relationship, you're changing your relationship with everybody else because I'm single now. I'm not this person's wife. So do I get asked to dinners when it's only couples going? Like, where am I? Where do I fit?
Who gets the friends?
Yeah, who gets the
It's a
friends?
mirror.
Yeah, it is
I
a
think
mirror.
it's your very presence. In a weird way, it's the same thing I've experienced with my sexual identity. The very presence of fluid sexuality implies it's an option. So even if you're sitting with a gay man, a straight woman, a married couple, whatever, you don't have to say a thing. The fact that you are there and going, I haven't made a choice, I'm not prepared to choose a side, is confronting.
So it's like, I'm queer. You could be too.
You could be. I'm not saying you are or you're not. I don't care.
It's
No.
an option.
But I'm just there.
It
and
exists.
it's the same when you're a single woman
It really is.
where they're like, oh, shit, maybe my wife will leave. Do you know how many men say to me now, don't you take my wife?
Yeah.
I'm like, if I want your fucking wife, I'll tell her. Like, I'm not after anyone's
don't you
wife.
take my
Don't
wife's
you take
sexual?
my wife.
Wow.
I'm like, I have no interest in
I
your
think
wife.
there'd be a lot of men who'd be finding the latent les
a little bit
confronting.
Confronting.
Thank you for listening to this episode of No Filter. And if you want to hear more from Kate and Nelly, you should listen to their podcast, The Single Life of Us. The assistant producer is Emmeline Peterson. The executive producer of No Filter is Elissa Ratliff. I am Mia Freedman, and thank you for having me in your ears.